This video is going to be about Essay 3, and it will provide you with directions and materials that I hope you find useful in writing your essay. You know, this semester we've been reading about and discussing the concept of community. In particular, we have focused on groups that build a sense of community in different neighborhoods, cities, and towns across America. Now we're going to go ahead and focus on different organizations that build community right here in our local community of Merced County. Let's review the directions for this essay. First of all, you're going to write an essay which, 1, describes a problem, challenge in Merced County. That's going to be part of your beginning introduction. You're going to go ahead and describe a couple of organizations that are working to solve this problem. Those will be in your middle or body paragraphs. And finally, part 3, you're going to evaluate the effectiveness of the organization's efforts to overcome this local challenge. So that can be the end of your paper in your conclusion. So I see this essay breaking into 3 parts. Part 1 describes a challenge our community is facing. Of course, when describing what you feel is a challenge, you need to take an objective and or respectful tone towards others. In part 2, I want you to describe how 2 or more organizations are working to overcome this challenge. I see this as the main part of the paper, and it should include many body paragraphs, and it should have quotes from the organization's websites, articles on the organization, and interviews, etc. that you have found in your research recently. And then finally, part 3 of this essay consists of an evaluation of the effectiveness of the organization's efforts. It will probably be a couple of paragraphs, or it could just be a long conclusion. You should judge whether the groups are doing a good job, suggest ways that they can make changes to be more effective, things like that. I will go into more detail about this paper now in the next few minutes. I do want to cover a few things. First of all, this paper is due on April 29th, and I will not accept any late papers. The reason for this is that I'm hoping to get this paper back to you quickly so that you can go ahead and revise it and turn it in with a portfolio on the final day of the semester. Actually, at the final exam. I'll give you more directions about this portfolio towards the beginning of May. But for right now, it is important that you get this essay posted to Insight on April 29th so that I will have time to correct it. There are some basic requirements for this research paper. I have already mentioned that submitting, or I haven't mentioned it, but I will mention it now, that submitting your paper to NetTutor is optional. I think that you'll benefit from submitting your paper to NetTutor, but I know a few of you have had problems with NetTutor, so I am going to make this an optional part of the assignment. Your essay must be a full 4 pages, not including a works cited page. It will not receive a passing grade if it is 3 1/4 pages, or 3 1/2 pages, or 3 3/4 pages, or anything less than a full 4 pages. So let's make sure that we get enough information down and get enough details into our paper so we can get a full 4 pages. The works cited page will be your 5th page. In each paragraph, you must supply quotes and details and examples from secondary sources, basically your research that you've been doing over the last few weeks. And a minimum of 5 sources is required, and your textbook can be considered one of the sources for this paper. In fact, both textbooks, Better Together, Bowling Alone, and Abundant Community. In fact, all 3 textbooks, you can use those as sources. But again, I really do want you to rely, and you'll see from the paper, you'll need to rely on other sources as well. You must use MLA documentation and formatting. See your handbook for MLA documentation and formatting directions. No cover page is necessary for this. Let's just quickly review these student learning outcomes. To successfully complete this paper, students must, 1, write a clear thesis at the end of their introduction, provide a clear organizational pattern in their essay, write well-developed paragraphs that include direct quotes from multiple sources, research documents, and or textbooks, use MLA formatting and documentation, including a works cited page, edit their essays so that it contains a minimum number of grammatical, mechanical, and usage errors. In fact, we will probably want to fix this up in a little while. It should say errors there. All right, let's go ahead and move on. I want to cover each of these outcomes. First, the thesis. As you know, your thesis Should present the reader with your topic and main idea. The handbook has much more details on writing a thesis, many more directions, so see your handbook. I do want your thesis to be at the end of your introduction. It should be the last sentence in your introduction. This is a very traditional place for an academic thesis. It should not be a question or a fragment. That's another important part, and it should be clearly stated. Let's just look at this sample real quickly. You can use this sample as a model for your own thesis statement. Use the idiom and the phrasing from this sample that I'm going to read. To overcome the problems of homelessness, the Merced Rescue Mission and Catholic Charities provide meals and shelter for the homeless as they build a sense of community. Notice right away that we have the two topics in there, the Merced Rescue Mission and Catholic Charities. So your reader knows that you're going to be focusing your paper on those two subjects, the Rescue Mission and Catholic Charities. But it also gives you an idea about what the author wants to tell you about those two organizations, that they provide meals and shelters for the homeless. So again, clear topics, the Merced Rescue Mission and Catholic Charities, and clear main idea right here, right? That those two organizations provide meals and shelters for the homeless as they build a sense of community. So again, use that as a model, use that sample as a model for your own thesis statement. Well, let's look at the organization of this paper. First of all, in your introduction, I want you to explain a challenge in Merced and provide your thesis at the end. Then you'll have 4 or more body paragraphs in which you describe how one or more groups are facing up to this challenge and what they're doing. And then finally, in your conclusion, I want you to evaluate how well you think these organizations are doing as they attempt to overcome this challenge. You don't have to be entirely complimentary. You can make suggestions here. Let's look at a sample outline. I want you to create a sample outline similar to the one I'm showing you here, because I really do believe that with the sample outline, you're going to be able to organize your thoughts better, have your thoughts in a more structured format for your reader. So paragraph 1 will describe homelessness in Merced in my paper. What is it? Who are the homeless? Why are they homeless? I'll answer all those questions in my introduction, but then I'm going to end that introduction with my thesis. Let me repeat it. To overcome the problems of homelessness, the Merced Rescue Mission and Catholic Charities provide meals and shelter for the homeless as they build a sense of community. Then I'm going to move on to my body paragraphs, and let's look at these body paragraphs. I have, 4 body paragraphs. Paragraph 2 will discuss the Merced Rescue Mission and how it provides free meals to the homeless. I'll have several quotations, maybe from their website on this, or maybe from an article in the Merced Sun-Star about how they provide meals to the homeless, stuff like that. So that'll be paragraph 2. Paragraph 3 is going to be about how the Merced Rescue Mission provides shelter for the homeless. Again, I'll go ahead and quote from articles on the Merced Rescue Mission, maybe quote from their website, maybe quote from an interview I may have had with one of the members of the Merced Rescue Mission, something like that. Paragraph 4 will be about Catholic Charities and how it provides food for the homeless and poor families. I'll develop that paragraph in a very similar way. Paragraph 5 will be about Catholic Charities and how it provides emergency help for families and individuals who need shelter. And again, I'll develop that paragraph with direct quotes, examples, details from articles and their website, maybe an interview, maybe somebody I've heard on the radio, whatever. But I will develop that paragraph fully. I'm going to talk more about paragraph development in a minute. But you should have at least 4 body paragraphs or so that describe the different groups and how they are, in fact, trying to solve a problem in Merced and create community as they do so. The final paragraph and will be the conclusion. I'm going to make that paragraph 6 in my paper. And it should look something like this. Here's a couple ideas. Of course, your paragraph will be more developed, your conclusion, but here's a couple ideas I would have. Both groups provide valuable services to help those in need and create community, but they do not work to change an unjust system that created the problem of homelessness in society. So while I'm going to praise them for attempting to solve the problem and to create community, I am going to point out that neither of these groups works very hard to kind of fix the system that creates homelessness. So that would be my one criticism of them. So again, create a sample paragraph similar to this one. I think that this will help you stay focused as you write and help you stay organized as you write. Both those things are going to be important to your reader, that you are focused and that you're organized. You have a lot of stuff going on here. You have the description of your problem in the introduction. You have several body paragraphs that describe the different organizations that are trying to solve the problem and create community, and then you have your evaluation, right, in your conclusion. That's a lot of stuff going on, so I think an outline can help you kind of sort out your ideas and put them into an organized fashion. If we look at the body paragraph, and I'm gonna skip right to the sample, we see that it has several things going on, several things that I want you to do in your own paragraph. First of all, it starts with a topic sentence. The topic sentence gives you the topic and the main idea of this paragraph. So let's read this one. It says here, to help the homeless, Catholic Charity provides meals to the people who are hungry and who have no means of feeding themselves. So right away we know that the subject of this paragraph will be Catholic Charities, and that the main idea about Catholic Charities in this paragraph, or the focus on Catholic Charities in this paragraph, will be how they feed those people who are hungry. Okay, it's not going to be about how Catholic Charities provide shelter. It's simply going to focus on how they feed the hungry. So a good topic sentence will do that. It will provide focus to your essay. A couple things are going on in here, and I just want to point a few out. First of all, I want you to note that there are 3 direct quotes in this paragraph. Here's one here. There's another one. Whoa, excuse me. Let's move down a little bit. There's one right here. Okay. And there's one towards the end right here. So 3 different direct quotes. Feel free to add, direct quotes that support your ideas in your paragraph. Go ahead and use as many as 2, 3, 4 direct quotes. One direct quote's probably not going to do it. I would imagine not even 2. Go ahead and add direct quotes that illustrate the ideas in your paper. Notice also right here that I got some details from this article by Patton on the Merced Rescue Mission. I'm sorry, on Catholic Charities. I put those ideas in my own words, but I still feel it was necessary to cite Patton, and you'll see it right here at the end of this paraphrase, to cite Patton, because those weren't my ideas. Those were Patton's ideas. They were in Patton's article, so I believe it's important to go ahead and note that. I also do it right here, where I have another paraphrase. I got this information about Sacred Heart Church and Catholic Charities from the Patton article, so I start it by saying, as Patton notes. Notice it's not a direct quote, just the ideas came from Patton's article, so I go ahead and acknowledge that. So you have direct quotes and paraphrases of information from the articles or brochures or websites, whatever secondary sources you have. Those are the things that are going to build your paragraph. I also just want to point out a little bit about MLA documentation. The way I've introduced my quotes with these little phrases. Victor Patton writes. I have another one over here. Let's see, down here where I say, excuse me, I'm getting a little bit of interference here. Victor A. Patton writes right here. Then down here we have Leon Alfaro states. And then down here I think I have another quote, and it starts with, the Catholic Charities website expresses the same empathy and compassion when it states. Notice that I introduced the author of each of these quotes right in the beginning with a little tag phrase, Leon Alfaro states, or Patton writes, or the Catholic website expresses some idea. Use those little phrases to introduce your quotes so that your reader knows who is speaking or who is writing. Okay? I think that's going to be very, very helpful. So clear topic sentence and a variety of direct quotes and paraphrases will help build this paper, and your body paragraphs, and keep them very well focused. A couple other sources for you. MLA documentation. Good information about MLA documentation can be found in your textbook, the Concise Wadsworth Handbook. There's also a presentation on our MC4Me class site. Look in the lessons folder. And I really have found this site here, the OWL Online Writing Lab, very useful. So go ahead and look there and see, and right down here has a link to their MLA guide. I think you'll find that incredibly useful. So go ahead and look through that the Purdue Online Writing Lab materials. Excuse me, I'm bouncing around here. Let me get back. Here we go. Sorry about that. Just taking a couple minutes. All right. I also have some useful videos here on MLA documentation. The first one covers formatting, how to set your paper up, things like that. The next one discusses in-text documentation, how to use page numbers and in-text citations to match your works cited page. And the final video actually goes into how to create a works cited page. But I think you'll find your handbook also equally useful. I have a couple of videos and other sources to help you revise and edit. It's very important that you revise and edit carefully so that you can get a good grade. Don't let distracting errors and unnecessary errors interfere with the reading of your paper. We want to go ahead and be able to read the paper without misunderstanding what you're writing because of grammatical errors or having a hard time reading your paper because of grammatical errors. There's a there's a video there on revising in which a teacher actually goes through a paper and shows you how to revise. There's a couple of very useful handouts, one from to both of them from different writing centers throughout the country. Look at those handouts, and I think they'll give you some good advice on revising and editing. And I've also made a little checklist or a little box down here of ideas or strategies I've used to revise and edit. The first column contains individual activities that you can do on your own if you don't have anyone to help you out. On the right-hand column, you'll see different peer activities, different things you can do with other people to get some feedback on your paper. One of them is to submit your paper to NetTutor. I think you can find that very useful. But also feel free to take your paper to the Tutorial Center over in the Communications Building or to Study Central, which you can find in the Student Union. Both places are very helpful in editing your paper. Okay, so that's most of the information I have for you. I hope you found that useful. I do want to say that writing is a process that can't be rushed. Give yourself some time to write a couple drafts of this paper. Don't try to do everything the night before it's due. Give yourself time to edit, give yourself time to revise, go through several drafts because you want to get as great as possible on this paper. All right? So that's it. If you have any questions, you can feel free to go ahead and email me. Good luck, and I look forward to reading your papers.